Brilliance Audio presents Horsemen's War by Steve McHugh, performed by Moira Quirk, Steve West and Simon Mattox. The interior of the barn was covered in blood. None of it was mine. The 24 inhabitants had arrived here believing they were meeting with me as an envoy from Avalon. I was meant to discuss future business deals, bring them more prosperity, and they in return would keep Avalon's influence alive in the newly free country of America. Things had changed. There was a gargle in one of the 4 empty stalls. The horses that had been kept there were long gone. I walked over, stepping around the top half of a torso and a severed head, and found the still living man inside the stall. The smell of blood and shit was overpowering, but I pushed it aside. I didn't plan on staying long. His tunic was bathed in blood, and more blood covered his face. There was a deep cut along his chest, and it continued to bleed heavily. "Why?" he asked, a look of betrayal in his eyes. I followed his gaze to the body of his nearest companion. "You are murderers, thieves, slavers, scum, who relish and traffic in human misery," I said, my voice completely calm. "Why should so many innocent people die while people like you continue to make wealth off their pain?" "But we work for Avalon," he said, his face waxy. He did not have long. "You work for Avalon." I nodded. I was sent here by Merlin to ensure that Avalon's reach continued into this new world, but I decided that it was also an excellent time to remove the rotten parts of the system. "We work for Avalon," he said again. I didn't remember his name. It didn't really matter. He was one of hundreds I'd killed since arriving in America in 1784. All of them had deserved it. Their deaths had made the world a better place. "I don't care," I told him. "Merlin will find you," he said with a gasp. "He will punish you." I smiled at him. "And you'll still be dead." I drove a blade of fire into his chest, ending him properly. I stood and removed the long black coat I'd been wearing. It was covered in blood, as were my dark trousers and black boots. I tossed the coat onto the floor. There was a second one on my horse outside the barn. I pushed open the partially stuck wooden door and stepped outside into the cold. I ignited my fire magic, keeping myself warm as I stared at the familiar face of the man who stood 15 feet away. He was taller than me, with long dark hair tied back with a blue bow. He was clean-shaven, and his hurt expression was clear. He wore a long black coat, similar to the one I'd dropped in the barn, and like me, he carried no weapons. He didn't really need them. I'd once seen him tear a man in half with his bare hands. "Tommy," I said, feeling like the word would get stuck in my throat. "Nate," he replied, taking a step toward me. His voice was calm, almost sad. "They deserved to die," I said, my tone harder now as I let my anger fuel my voice. "Probably," Tommy said with a slight shrug. "Not for us to say." "Why?" I shouted. "Why not for us to say? We have the power." "Because that's not what we do," he countered immediately. "We're not here as judge, jury and executioner to people we deem to be bad. Humanity is meant to police its own." "Why should innocent people die and bastards like this continue to live?" I snapped, marching toward Tommy until I was only a foot away. "Because we're better than them," Tommy said,